Hey there, I just wanted to make a little video about kind of what programming is on like a very, very low sort of analysis. So basically anything that you're doing, you're taking data, you're manipulating it, and then you're doing something with it or translating it. So I just made this little Python file here. I'm just going to talk about arrays for it a second. So an array, as I can define here, I can call it whatever I want, is just like a list of elements. So one, two, three, four, five. So this is an array. You can also have array. So if I do like array two, that could be strings of these elements. So like one, two, three. So yeah, these are completely different arrays. These are integer numbers, so like actual data. So I can add these numbers together and stuff like that. This is like a word, so it's a string. So that's like spelling something out. So it doesn't interpret it. I can't just add like one and two. It's not exactly the same thing. One of my favorite resources when I'm learning to code or just working on anything is this website called Geeks for Geeks. Let's check out the Python intro. This is a great resource. A lot of developers come together and they teach you everything. So there's data types, there's functions, lists, strings, sets, tuples, dictionaries, object-oriented programming concepts, exception handling. It can get really weedy, but like starting somewhere, data types is a great place to start because there's a bunch of different ones. So we have like numeric, dictionary, Boolean, integer, string. So they are in a different family, and handling each one of these data types is a bit different. So if you ever want to just like come in and like play with it and learn a bit, it's always a great resource to have. As well as this website has a lot more than just Python. It has multiple different programming languages, and people keep this stuff updated all the time. And you can kind of just like see and play with code. So I can come into here, play with this. I have to log in, but you can like play with all the code and like change things and to see how everything interacts. So basically data structures and coding. So data structures and coding. Let's see if I can find something real quick. Let's see, there's a good one. That was not very good. Try to get a visual. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. So like this is kind of like a list. There's like graphs, there's trees, there's lists that have pointers, so they reference each other. There's hash functions, knowing, and there's stacks and queues. So like stack is kind of like you put something on the top, it has to come off the top. A queue is kind of like being in line for a movie, and as you get in line, it's a first in, first out. So it's like I'm going to come in and I'm going to leave, and then the line behind at me, like of everyone else trying to buy movie tickets, is going to be coming through the line. I'll get more in depth with that, but it's like fundamental data housing and storage techniques. All right, so as an example, like with this, so if I wanted to say reverse this array, so if I wanted to like print out the array, oh, everyone makes mistakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you're learning, it's definitely fine to like say what you're doing in English or whatever language, and then Google that, and you can kind of find some resources, and that will help you learn. I'm just gonna pop over here real quick. All right, so yeah, you can just write out what you're trying to do in English. So I'm just gonna do this. So reverse list or array. So when you're starting out, you don't really know how to do these things most of the time. I know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to give an example. So if I wanted to know how to do this, I could just come into here and say how to reverse a list in Python. Boom. Go to the searches. Geeks for Geeks normally has tons of resources, which is great. So here we have the list, and then we have the output. There's a bunch of different techniques that you can use, like slicing, reverse packages, pointer approaches. You can make a new list and a bunch of different stuff too. So here, this is a pretty cool one. So slicing is very valuable. You can do this in a bunch of different ways to pull out certain values. Say if you want to chop the end or the front or the end off, if you want to reverse it, there's a lot of techniques that you can use with this. And then if you go down here, there's even more. List reverse, that's a bit more complicated. It's like an algorithmic approach to how it works. And then there's like this too, list.reverse. So whenever you're trying to learn something, it's good to look up some resources because you can't really know how to do something if you've never done it before. So never feel bad about that. There's some cool little algorithms in here with a two-pointer approach. Yeah, so I would look up that. One thing I recommend is do not copy and paste. You can with some blocks of code just like tinker and play with it, but the more you copy and paste, the less you learn. And like getting your fingers to kind of like understand what they should be doing definitely improves your skills. If you're a chronic copy and paster, you'll never be able to prove that you know how to code. You'll just freeze up and shake during an interview, and that's nothing. You never want to have that happen. So to reverse this list, I could just say array, and I could do that slicing method. So array dot -1. And now let me print the original array first. So print array. And I can add like this is the original. Space. And then how about this is the reverse array. All right. So now if I run this, cool. So this is the original array, and this is the reversed array. So that works perfect. It's good to have tools like this kind of like in your holster because things like this will come up all the time when you're trying to access or store or translate values. So let's just see. Another really useful thing with arrays is you can kind of pull out each element. You can do this with like for or while loops. While loops can be very dangerous because you can run into endless loops, and it can kind of just, you have to kill the system because it will never stop, and it's just not good for your computer, which is why I like doing things in a Linux environment. But let's just start with for loops. Like a for loop would be like for I in array, AR. And now what I can do is just print out I, because it's saying for each element in this list, I'm going to print it. Very basic. So now if I run this, I get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because the array is reversed now. So that's one really cool tool. If you want to do like a while loop, which while loops can be dangerous, be careful. So I could do like, so while loop has to have some sort of iteration on it. So if I had like a length of the array, so length of array, so if I print, this will just get me the length of it, so I'll call it length equals len array, and then print length. If I run that, the array is 5 long. So with coding, everything is indexed by 0. So the first position is 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So technically the array is only 4 long, but it says 5 because there's 5 elements. So jumping between programming languages, indexing always starts at 0. Python just likes to handle things a little bit different. So one thing I want to do is make sure it says -1. I know it's all right. So now that I have the length as array -1, that means there's 4 elements. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I can do a while loop. So with while loops, you can like increment it or decrement it. Probably the easiest way to do it is to have an index. So I'll call it index equals 0. So then with the while, I can do while index is less than the length. So this is saying 0, and it's going to count up till that 4 in the values. So what I can do now is print and then array, and arrays have this like indexing sort of function. So I can print array bracket index. So this will get me the first value. I'll finish this real quick. So then you have to increment index plus equals 1. So what this is doing is it's saying index is starting at 0. So the first element 5, and then it's going to say, is it less than length? Yes, I can print it. So 0 will be array position 0, and then the index will increment. So then 1 will be coming through this loop again, and it'll say array 1. Print that out, then it'll be 2, and up until the point where it reaches the 5th or 4th indexed element. So now that this if I would forget to include this index plus equals 1, that would be one of the endless loop cases, because this condition would never meet. So the program would just rip and keep trying to run and nothing would ever happen. So while loops can be a bit dangerous, you have to make sure that you have an exit condition within your program. If you're on like a platform like LeetCode or Code Wars, they have memory limits. So if you do run a while loop, it won't blow up your computer. But I have crashed my computer a couple times in college trying to work with while loops and recursion, where my computer would freeze up. I'd have to restart it and I'd lose some of my progress. So that is never fun. Be very careful. And if you want to start playing around and just so you're careful before you start programming, definitely use LeetCode or Code Wars and start practicing some while loops, because it won't affect your computer as much. All right, so let's just run this real quick. Oh, and I spelt it wrong again. So I just need to call it AR. It's easy to make those little mistakes, and boom. Here, let me print out something real quick. Print. Let's just make a little line here to just separate it. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, I've been doing a lot of Java, so I guess I was wrong. That's the fun thing about coding. So I did not need to have the -1. So in C and Python, C, Java, and a bunch of other programming languages, it does index based off of the 0 indexing, but I guess I forgot that while loops do not do that. So yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's always good to tinker around and play with it. I was just trying to stay on the safe side by doing the -1, because that probably would have broken my C program. But it's always good to just be aware, and it's good to like practice and learn, and you never do things right the first time. So that's always fun. So that's kind of like a basic introduction, I think, to like just like arrays, how to access data, what you want to do with it. Anything that you want to do, Google is your best friend. You can learn anything. There's so many resources. You can sometimes go down a rabbit hole and not find the right answer right away, but don't get discouraged. You have to fall in love with banging your head against the wall and figuring problem solving. And to me, I love that, and it's a lot of fun. And as you can see, I made a couple mistakes, just like typing things wrong or indexing it wrong in my brain, because when you're jumping back and forth, you never know everything, and it's good to just be humble and don't beat yourself up about it. So I think that's going to be where I end here. Hope you guys like this, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll be trying to make some more videos soon. One last little tidbit that I wanted to address was I actually was wrong. So the AR -1 was correct. What was wrong was the less than length. So in Python, you can do less than or equal to length. And then if I would run this, then it works. So it all depends on your conditions and how you set everything up. So it is still 0 indexing. I just woke up this morning, so I was just trying my best to stay on topic, and it slipped my mind. So that always happens in coding, and we all make mistakes. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.